Super League have withdrawn. The weather: sunshine in the north, cloudier but still dry further south, a high of 16 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Delays on the M25 anti-clockwise from junction 27 at the M11 to 26 at Waltham Abbey. It's because a lorry has broken down and one lane is closed. Traffic's being held on the A12 southbound now, just before the M25 junction. It's following an accident and there are delays back to junction 13 at Ingatstone. And also the A13's very slow westbound at the Stamford La Hope turn-off, and that's following an accident in the roadworks. Slightly better news now in Kensington. The A4 West Cromwell Road has reopened eastbound at North End Road, but there are still delays back to the Hogarth roundabout, and on the underground there are severe delays on the Bakerloo line.
This is LBC.
Hash browns.
Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. LBC.
When the world slows
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973.
10 minutes before 8 is the time. Let's continue our conversation concerning the crumbling of the Super League, the fan power, if you will, and bring into the conversation Culture, Media and Sport Secretary of State Oliver Dowden, who joins me now. Thank you for coming on. Secretary of State, what do foreign owners need to learn about the provenance of English football clubs? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's a real day for fans to savour. They've had their victory. I think what owners need to remember is that they are but temporary custodians of our game and our national heritage, something that goes back over a century. And that's why I and the Prime Minister were so determined to stand behind those fans to do whatever it took to stop these measures.
There was a talk of a review of funding in football. Will that now go ahead? And if so, what is that setting out or trying to set out to discover?
Yes, I think it's really important that we don't just say, well, this is all over with, forget about it. I announced on Monday that Tracy Crouch would be leading this fan-led review. That will essentially look at finance, it will look at governance, and it will look at the fan experience of football. Because my whole experience as Secretary of State, both dealing with this and dealing with the challenges we had with football and financing it during the COVID crisis, I think there is a real need to look at this properly now.
OK. What about governance? Will that include governance of the game as well? Do we, and some of my listeners have been talking about the Secretary of State, and you'll know what this means better than most, an Ofcom-style regulatory body sitting over football?
Well, we haven't ruled that out, and the fan-led review will look at this. I mean, clearly we've got to get a balance. So I want the government to do as little as it has to do, because the game is rightly self-governed. But I do think it's right that we look at governance questions like that, and that will not be off the table. And
fans having a stake in their clubs, the sort of German model, Secretary of State?
Well, yes, I was struck by what happened in Germany. As you know, and your listeners will know, German clubs didn't participate in this proposal. And one of the points that was made to me by fans when Prime Minister and I met with them yesterday was the fact that there was that financial stake. I think we should look at it. Again, international investment in football has been a good thing. It has increased the quality of the players of the game and everything else. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have foreign investment, but I do think it's right that we look at how fans can have a stake in the game. And I think if you go back a few years, and certainly this was one of the things we discussed with fans did have more of a stake a few years back. Over time, they've been bought out. So I think that's important that we look at that.
And possibly a cap on players' wages is what some people are suggesting, Secretary of State.
Well, I'm not putting that in the scope of the review. I think it's right that it's up to clubs to determine players' wages.
Staying with football, the FA Cup final takes place next month. Can I ask you regarding COVID, how many fans? I think we tried 4,000. Well, we didn't. They tried 4,000 roughly in the semi-final. What are the expectations for next month's final?
Well, we are continuing to up the numbers. So so we had 4,000. We're going up to 8,000 with the League Cup final, and then there'll be the Caribou Cup, as it's now called, and then there will be a further increase in the number of fans for the final.
To what sort of number, Secretary of State?
Well, it'll certainly be over 10,000. We're determining the exact numbers.
OK, and remind listeners, who's playing in the FA Cup final? I'm sure you'll be watching.
Well, first of all, I should presage all of this by saying that I have never claimed to be a great football fan.
But you are. You are the sport Secretary of State for sport, Oliver Dowden.
I will give you this one, but I'm not going to then start getting into the quiz of who's up and who's down. I've never pretended to be a great football fan, but it is Leicester versus Chelsea.
Oh, well
but
done.
I'm not. That's your lot.
Okay.
Quiz time.
Okay, that's fair enough. I tell you get extra points for knowing that I've supported Leicester for more than 50 years. So that would have really got you. That's why it's so close to my heart. No, don't worry. That's fair enough. Well done. One thing that's exercising some people is how this began, the speed with which you, the Prime Minister, the government moved, which was tremendous to see. So that was within hours, but it took 3 days for a comment from the Prime Minister recently about the disturbances in Northern Ireland. Why the disparity?
Well, there was a need to move very quickly in this instance to kill the proposal stone dead. And when I first heard about it, we got rumours of it mid-afternoon. I met with officials immediately Sunday evening. I was in touch with the president of UEFA. We had to move quickly and demonstrate the government was ready to stop this.
Right, but often it's good to move quickly about disturbances in Northern Ireland, isn't it?
Well, in respect of Northern Ireland, the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland have been engaging constantly in relation to what's going on in Northern Ireland. And I know that the Prime Minister meets regularly with the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. As you and your listeners know, the challenges we have in Northern Ireland have been going on for weeks, months, and indeed date back decades and centuries.
All right. Should the so-called Super Six face some kind of punishment, Mr. Dowden, or do you think they've suffered enough at the hands of their real fans?
Well, I think the fans have made their views pretty clear. It's up to the footballing authorities. There's certainly not an action from government that will flow from this.
OK, lastly, as this, I think you would agree, revolves a lot on cash for the football clubs, can I bring in a matter of cash for the government? £2.6 million on a new media suite that now the televised briefings will be scrapped. That's a terrible amount of money to waste, isn't it?
Well, I don't think the money has been wasted in the sense that I've done a number of these press conferences from that room. It's actually the state dining room in number 10. It's not used for much dining, but it's used for many, many meetings. It's not really fit for modern media communications. So the investment that's been made to create that facility will be used by future governments. It's pretty similar to what we see in many other countries around the world.
It's not really suitable for modern media. We've just spent £2.6 million putting a load of kit in there, haven't we?
But this is for the new room. Yes, yes. 2.6 million has been spent on the new room. I'm talking about the old one.
Oh, the old one. But we're not going to have. But hold on. But my understanding is those briefings are to be scrapped, Secretary of State, now from the new room.
Well, it was. No, it will still be used for meetings. We saw the Prime Minister do one just a couple of days ago from there.
Yeah, but hold on. They're not going to go ahead as was planned, almost daily White House-style briefings. That's not now going ahead. So why did we need to spend the thick end of £3 million on it?
Well, it will still be used for press conferences, and I saw the Prime Minister using it just a couple of days ago. And I'm sure during the course of the coming weeks and months and years, it will be used by future governments to be able to have press conferences.
But we were going to hear from the former TV journalist Allegra Stratton every day with televised briefing. That's not now going ahead. Is she happy?
Well, I think I understand, and I don't follow the intricacies of staff in Downing Street. As you might imagine, I've had quite a few things on my plate in recent days, but I believe that Allegra is going off to be the spokesperson for the COP climate change conference, which is an important role in government.
But lastly, you don't think for my listeners, some of whom are finding it a bit tough at the moment, to be told that we're going to have daily televised White House-style briefings from a special media room where we then spend £2.6 million and are then told, no, we're not going to have them daily afterwards. You don't see that as a waste of money, Secretary of State?
Well, I think the room is still going to be used for press briefings. Your listeners will have watched throughout the COVID crisis the Prime Minister standing up and giving press conferences alongside Chris Whitty, Patrick Vallance. Indeed, I've done 2 or 3 of them.
You have, yes.
Myself. It's about creating a facility for that to happen. Governments frequently have press conferences led by the Prime Minister and other ministers, and that's what the room will be used for. Right. And as I said, it replaces the state dining room, which is quite a small room, which is used for meetings and other things tucked away at the back of Downing Street. This is just about creating a modern facility for government.
All right. So, and just finally, I note behind you there's a tremendously impressive picture of Her Majesty the Queen. Is that because it's the monarch's birthday today, or is that picture always in pride of place over your left-hand shoulder?
That picture is always in pride of place, and indeed it was is a photograph by David Bailey, I think, and it used to hang in Downing Street. So I was glad to rescue it from my office.
Well, it's a tremendous portrait. It looks fantastic behind you. Thank you very much for your time.
I really love it.
Yeah, it is. It is a great shot. Thank you, Oliver Dowden. Thank you. Culture, Media, Sport and Secretary of State there, and of course a Conservative MP as well. OK, John, sorry we can't get to you on this occasion. If we return to the conversation, we shall try, but we must move on as the music starts to play. Coming up in the next hour, a possible turning point for the United States with the conviction of that killer cop, US Vice President Kamala Harris.
We are all a part of George Floyd's legacy, and our job